The Taliban are sweeping through Afghanistan at an extraordinary pace. Herat, the country's third largest city, has fallen today. Kandahar, the second biggest, is on the brink of defeat. Lashkargah, the capital of Helmand province, once the centre of the UK's presence there, has been overrun too. And Ghazni, a strategically important city just 95 miles from the capital Kabul, is also now in the hands of the Islamist fighters. The speed of the Taliban's advance means Britain and the United States are sending more than 3,500 troops to help their civilians leave. They'll arrive by the weekend for what the Ministry of Defence is calling a short-term mission. Our first report tonight is from our defence correspondent, Jonathan Beale.
The Taliban advance appears unstoppable, ruthless as ever to those who stand in their way. Regional capitals are falling like dominoes. Today it was Ghazni, just 85 miles from the capital Kabul. In the face of this rapidly deteriorating security situation, today Britain announced it was temporarily sending 600 troops to Kabul to facilitate the withdrawal of embassy staff and British citizens still in the country. America announced it's preparing to do the same, deploying 3,000 Marines and soldiers.
This is a temporary mission with a narrow focus. As with all deployments of our troops into harm's way, our commanders have the inherent right of self-defense, and any attack on them can and will be met with a forceful and an appropriate response.
US-initiated so-called peace talks with the Taliban were still taking place in Doha today. But they now look more like a sideshow with little relevance to what's happening on the ground. In the past month, the insurgents have moved at speed, seizing more territory. In the last day alone, 3 major cities have fallen, including Herat, Ghazni and Lashkargah in Helmand, once patrolled by British troops. Nearby Kandahar is believed to be on the brink.
We're now departing, as I say, and leaving the country to what we're going to see as a massive humanitarian disaster, a civil war. We're going to see huge migration problems. And on top of that, we're going to see terrorism raise its ugly head again, no doubt in this country and other countries, because it's now become a safe haven for them to regroup, rearm and retrain.
Most British troops had already left Kabul as part of the US-led withdrawal. This temporary surge is purely to facilitate the departure of those who remain securely. But once again, it raises more questions as to what was achieved by the sacrifice of 457 British lives over the past 20 years.
Well, Jonathan Beale is with me now. So more than 3,500 British and American troops going in by the weekend. Explain more about what their mission will be.
Well, it's being presented as a precaution by the US. The British Defence Secretary Ben Wallace says this was part of the contingency plan, but they both admit that this is a response to the rapidly deteriorating security situation. So those 600 British troops will be there to help. Around 4,000 British citizens are still in Afghanistan. If they want to come home, they will be helped to move back to the UK. There will also be embassy staff moved out of the country, and also those Afghans who worked for the British and who are being allowed to settle back in the UK. The embassy itself, there will be the ambassador and a very small staff, but they are going to move the embassy to an undisclosed, more secure location. I mean, you know, you look at this and it does look like a rush to the exit. It certainly will look like that to many Afghans who are left behind. But the government here and also in the US are insisting this is part of their plans, but clearly those plans have changed because of the rapid advance of the Taliban.
Our defence correspondent, Jonathan Beale. Thank you. Well, the rapid military advance by the Taliban is taking place as peace talks continue with the Afghan government in the city of Doha in Qatar. Our international correspondent Yalda Hakim travelled there to meet one of the Taliban's negotiators as different visions emerge of how the Taliban would rule Afghanistan.
Afghanistan 2021. The Taliban are back. The withdrawal of foreign troops has left a power vacuum the Taliban are rushing to fill. If they take power, many people here fear a return to their brutal regime of the 90s, characterized by public executions, stonings, and a ban on girls' education. In February 2020, a historic peace deal was signed between the US and the Taliban. Since then, peace talks have been taking place in Doha in Qatar between the Afghan government and the Taliban, but no real progress has been made. In Doha, I met with Sohail Shaheen, a member of the Taliban peace negotiation team. If you were to return to Kabul, how would you govern?
There was in the past some mistakes that we have learned from, because at that time you were new to the government. To stop education of women and girls, that is not our goal. Of course, education is their right, and it is much needed.
While Sohail Shaheen continues to talk about peace, it's clearly not a view shared by Taliban commanders in Afghanistan. Back in Kabul, Taliban commander Maulana from Helmand agreed to meet me. Do you think that there should be a power-sharing deal with the current government, like the discussions that are being had in Doha?
We would be happy to have a joint government under the umbrella of the Islamic Sharia. A Sharia-based system in Afghanistan is like the system the Taliban used to have.
If someone were to steal or commit adultery, what should happen to them?
All this is clearly stated in the Quran. If someone steals, there is a punishment. For example, for some thefts, the punishment is cutting off the hand and foot. And if someone commits adultery, then they should be stoned.
Can girls go to school, and up until which age?
If a girl wants to go to school, she's permitted, but her school should be girls only. Also, her teachers should be women. She should be able to study up to the age of 12 or 13.
And if there isn't a political resolution to this conflict, are you prepared to take Kabul by force?
I'm trying to defeat the government, and they are trying to make me disappear. In the end, we will be compelled to kill one another.
But the Vice President of Afghanistan remains defiant.
This group in Doha, they are a deceptive facade of a very dark reality called the Taliban.
So in your view, have they changed?
No, not only they have not changed, they have become savvier in deceiving.
Once again, hundreds of thousands of Afghans have found themselves caught in this conflict. In Kabul, some have found safety. But for how long? Yalda Hakim, BBC News, Kabul.
Our correspondent Yogita Limaye is in the Afghan capital, Kabul, tonight, and that is the question. The speed of the advance is incredible. What hope is there for Kabul?
Well, people are just in disbelief, Sophie, about what's unravelled in this one day. We woke up talking about the fall of Ghazni, which is about 100 miles south of Kabul, and we're ending the day with multiple provincial capitals falling to the Taliban, many of them significant cities for the Afghan government. Herat, fiercely contested between the two sides, but the Afghan government wasn't able to hold on to it, staring at defeat in Kandahar, the second largest city in this country. Lashkargah, the capital of the Helmand province, falling as well. And there are real worries among citizens here about what is next, what is the future of their capital, Kabul. I've seen messages on social media from Afghans talking about the last moments of freedom. But I think what happens here in the coming days will depend heavily on how the Afghan government reacts to what's happened in this one day. So far, we have heard nothing from the top brass of the government, nothing from the president, nothing from the vice president or any of the big ministers. How they respond tomorrow to this situation will determine, what happens next in the capital, Kabul.
Yogita Limaye in Kabul. Thank you.